Okay, hello, shalom to everybody. I'm very sad not to be with you right now. I've been to CoPro Israel quite a few times, and it's always have been a wonderful experience meeting so dedicated and gifted people. So we just have to adapt and do it this way now. And I was asked to give a short outline of the German market, which I will try to do. And it may leave some questions, and then, you know, if you don't understand something, as Anna said, you can just punch in the chat and I will pick up immediately, and otherwise I would just, after I finish a certain chapter, then I will ask for questions. Okay, I will share my, my screen with you. Oh, the classic. I need to switch this off, sorry. This is actually what I tell to my students all the time, switch off your phone. Okay, here we go. Bildschirm freigeben. Here we go. Teilen. Can you see my screen right now? It should say overview of the documentary market in blue. Blue screen, yes? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Good. Some key facts about the German market. We have in Germany a very strong public broadcaster system with a few main broadcasters. Basically, there are two, ARD and ZDF. But each one of them operates various channels. So we have a lot of free TV, strong free TV, and we have some private free TV, also quite strong. And then we have certain pay TV channels. Pay TV always had a difficult time in Germany due to the fact that we already have an established and public free or public broadcasting and private broadcasting that is free. So the necessity for people to buy an additional package is quite low. That is something that is different for us, for example, as compared to America or to Italy or to the UK. The public broadcasting system in Germany operates in a way that every household has to pay a monthly amount. There's no possibility to opt out. The monthly amount is 18 euros. Some countries charge a little bit more, some states in Germany. So in total, this comes to 8 billion euros a year. Then there will be another 1 billion euro for advertising. So the public broadcasters, ARD, ZDF, have roughly now about 9 billion euros per year, which makes it the most wealthy broadcaster system in the world. If you think now that we're all swimming in money, all the producers, you're wrong. Unfortunately, it's not that way. Very little of that actually goes down to the documentary industry, to the free producers out there. The most of this money just is spent internally. And then of the roughly about 10% of that money goes into the program, and of that 10% that goes into the program, most of it is produced by affiliate companies to the broadcasters. So they operate their own production companies, and most of the money goes to them, around 66%. Between 60 and 70% of all the commissioned work goes to them, which leaves to the majority, the thousands of producers in Germany, only the rest of these 30%. I put you down on the left-hand side. Down there, you see here the turnarounds, and you can see that the budget that the private broadcasters have, RTL, has the largest one, around 3 billion, Pro7 2.6 million, Sat1 belongs to Pro7, it's one group, another 2.25. So that is and that is basically their budget. The private broadcasters are not that very strong in documentary. Their main focus is, as in probably all the countries in the world, it's education, it's entertainment. So they are not into education, they are not into information, what they call documentaries is not really documentary. That's, you know, you are going with policemen and you just watch them doing whatever they're doing. So RTL has a few slots where they go and co-produce or co-invest in documentaries, but Pro7 mainly buys documentaries on the international market. So when you are looking into some kind of co-financing or selling films, usually the public broadcasters are the ones that you are looking at. We have in the last year an increasing market for the streaming services, the OTT platforms, basically being Netflix and Amazon, and now Disney Plus. There's also another one operated by the telecom, and Netflix started, as you may know, about 1.5 years ago. They changed their programming, and they said that they want to have more local programming, and this led to a lot of programs being produced for Netflix right now in Germany, all the teams in Germany, everybody who does some decent work is booked out now. So we have in Germany almost a zero unemployment rate in this field, because everybody is just booked out. They're either booked out for the public broadcasters or for the private broadcasters or for the OTTs. At the moment, there's a lot being produced. Then, of course, as in all the households at the moment, due to Corona, these OTT platforms have increased significantly. We have more than double the number of views per day and hours per day. Some of it may stay, we don't know, but there is a huge run at the moment to online services. And the average TV consumption in Germany is 270 minutes per day. I don't know who actually watches almost, what is that, 4 hours a day? I don't know who actually does it, but this is what I do. Okay, so this is just the basic introduction. Is there any question to that? Actually, what I did is I switched off the chats on the side. I think I keep it that way. Because otherwise I cannot. So is there any question?
Not that very.
Not so far. Okay. Otherwise, whenever there is, then just good. Let's go to the film market. Just have a few ideas about. We have about we have a little more than 1,000, almost 1,200 cinemas, with roughly 5,000 screens in Germany. And every year we have roughly 600 films being premiered, of which more than 200 are German origin. We have an increasing number of documentaries for the past 20 years or so. It used to be almost zero, and now every year there are more and more documentary 90-minute feature films in the cinemas. And but as you can imagine, if you have more than 200 films premiering every year, German films, then that makes almost 5 a week. And of course, a lot of them only make it for a few days. So it's just too much. And the question is being discussed at the moment with all the funding systems, which are predominantly based on a film going theatrical. The main discussion at the moment is cinema still the right platform, or is it still the measure that you put in order to support a film? does it necessarily have to go to the cinemas, or are there other possibilities? Especially the younger people go to, they want more linear, they want non-linear, they want to watch films whenever they want. All of this is a difficult system. So there's at the moment a big discussion and of reforming, and a need to reform our financing system, but more about the financing system later. The top 5 documentaries, the year 2018, 2019, was on Pope Francis one, and a couple of others. I don't know if you have seen any of these: Wild Heart, Female Pleasure, and On the Hunt. But usually documentaries are, as you can see by the numbers, this is in thousands. So that means that the most popular documentary had 500,000 admission. That is quite
a lot.
Good, quite a lot for a documentary, but still compared to a feature film that can go up to 6 million in Germany, but that's basically it. Even the big blockbusters won't make more than 6 million. The average cinema fiction film in Germany also makes, a German production also makes around maybe 50,000 to 100,000. Only a few go beyond that. And what we don't have, and which may be interesting for you to know, we don't have any quota system in Germany. Unlike France, there's no protection for German producers. So we are using the same screens as any Hollywood blockbuster. There is no quota that would help us, and it's a complete open market. And whether a film is from Germany, from other European countries, or from countries from anywhere in the world doesn't make any difference.
It doesn't matter.
No, not at all. For the funding side, yes, of course. For the funding side, it needs to be a German film according to the international co-production treaties, which is the same all over the world, meaning that it needs to have a German majority, or it's based on a co-production treaty, and the co-production treaty states that the German share cannot drop below 20%. And if it fulfills, if it complies with either the European Convention for Cinematic Productions, or with a German, in your case, German-Israeli co-production, then it's much easier. But if we have any kind of co-production, it needs to be based either on that, or it needs to be majority German. And then we can access all the German film funds available. Good, we have... For the production. Pardon me?
For the production.
For the production side, yeah. We may have time later on to talk a little bit about possibilities of co-production and financing. Just to mention this on the side. So there's no protection, unlike in France. There's not only in cinema, also in television, radio. We don't have a quota system. We have roughly about 100,000. No, that's wrong. It's 105 million admissions. So that means that every German goes 1.5 times to the cinemas. Mm-hmm. That's quite low in the international standard. There are other countries that have 2 or 3 visits per person per year. One of the reasons is certainly that we have other options, other possibilities, also German television, German cinemas being quite expensive. So if you easily spend 15 euros for a blockbuster, because it's over length and there's 3D, and so that's quite expensive to go to cinema. And a lot of people just wait for films to be released either on Blu-ray, DVD, or they go to OTT. Was there a question?
No. You're very clear.
Okay, because I just heard something. Okay, then
Now
German,
there is one. You did hear, right?
I heard something. That's fine. Yeah. Okay, there's a question. Yeah,
Is
please.
there any meaning to the German nationality for an Israeli creator?
What do you mean by meaning?
I think it is for the co-production
Okay,
part.
for the
So-
co-production
so-
part is, yeah, and you don't, well, it's possible that an Israeli filmmaker can enter in a co-production with Germany, and the film being from an Israeli filmmaker, that's not a problem at all. It has been done several times.
But if the Israeli creator has a German passport, does it help?
No, well, a little. It does help if you go for the. It does help for a few points. There's a point system in the public in the state funding, and you need to have at least 45 or 48 points out of 100 points, and the director being German nationality gives a certain number of points, like 3 or 4 points or so. That's the only difference, but it's not
that many points.
It's not that many points. It is not. It does help a little, but I would say that if the story is good and if the whole package is interesting, that's much more important than the nationality.
Okay.
So it is absolutely possible that even without being a German citizen, that you can get German film funds. With a German partner, of course.
Yeah.
There's a few that do supply film funds without a German partner, but these are more like third-party investors, like certain public fund, certain private funds set up, like the Robert Bosch Fund and others. But usually, you need to have a you should have a German partner. It just helps. Good. Okay, we have about around 450 million euro in public film funds in Germany. That is quite okay. There are other countries that have much more. France has, I believe, 2 times as much. But it has been increased quite a lot over the past 10 years. And so of this amount, around 20 million are for creative documentaries, and they can be either cinema documentaries or television. And the main problem at the moment, if I can say so, is not so much the availability of the money, but it's the access. That most of it is focused on having a theatrical release, and in my personal opinion, a lot of films are being tweaked to being a theatrical film instead of just trying to get the best film possible, just in order to be able to access certain funds. So I think if we could improve that system, and more to an automatic system, then that would help the industry. But we are at the moment talking about that with all these various organizations that are involved. Good. Any other question on the German film market?
No.
No? Okay. Then let's see, where can you get some sources? We have the German Documentary Association, which is the largest association of film professionals in Germany, with 850 members or 900 members. Numbers are increasing at the moment. So it's a very big company. As the name says, it's their focus is on documentary. Then so if you have any questions on that, you can always come to me, or you can directly contact AG DOK at agdoc.de. We also have a website which is also available in English. It doesn't say here, but there is, or maybe on the next page. No. Okay. We created, together with German Films, we created an initiative called German Documentaries. And German documentaries is the label and the umbrella under which we bring German producers to the international markets. And German documentaries does have their own website, and it's in English. And if you have, you may find information there that is interesting for you when you are interested in the German market. But you can also contact me if you are interested, and I'm very happy to guide you to whoever is maybe interesting for you. Then we have the German Film Service and Marketing. That is an organization that helps German films to promote internationally. The German film supports German documentaries. And this is where the funds come from when we bring delegations to international markets. And then we have the National Film Board, FFA. And the National Film Board is the oldest funding organization in Germany, founded in 1968 or something. Still the largest one of the state funders. So we have in Germany several levels of funds. The one is the state funds, the national film funds, and then we have funds for each region, for Bavaria, for North Rhine-Westphalia, for Berlin, and so on. So talking about national film funds, they have their main focus is theatrical, and the biggest one being FFA, with roughly 80 million euros per year in funding that they can provide, of which roughly 800,000 is for documentaries. Then we don't have a Ministry of Culture in Germany due to the fact that we are not a centralized state, but we are a federal state. And but what we have is ein Beauftragter, which is somebody who is commissioned by Angela Merkel to take care of culture and media. And they also have a film fund, and they have not that much money, 90 million a year, of which documentaries go in about 3 million or so. Then we have the DFFF, and DFFF was created a couple of years ago initiated by Studio Babelsberg, and which is it's basically a tax refund system. So every euro you spend, you get a certain percentage of that back. Every euro you spend in Germany, and it's an automatic funding, which is great for producers. Because you don't have to wait for a board to decide whether they like your film or not. So you have a point system that I mentioned earlier, and according to the point system, if you're eligible, you just
give the report.
Pardon me?
You just give the report, and then they'll fix it.
Correct. So you can calculate from the very beginning, knowing that of every euro you get roughly 20%, but it's not every euro is eligible. So as a rule of thumb, you can say that 80% of your budget, if you shoot in Germany, 80% of the budget that you shoot in Germany is eligible, and of that 80%, then 20%. So in average, it's 18% of 100. But it's automatic, so it helps a lot, and the amounts are quite high. So they can be amounts that go up in the millions. So especially for bigger projects, this is very, very interesting. But also have done several documentaries that where you would get 80,000 or so from these funds. So it's not bad, and it's automatic money. Okay, in 2017, they funded 22 documentaries out of 100 films, which is not a bad average. Good. These are the national film funds. Now we come to the regional film funds. Unless there is any question on the national ones.
No.
No. Good. The regional film funds, they're basically 3 regions, which is North Rhine-Westphalia, Berlin, Brandenburg, and Bayern. And these are the ones that spent most on film. Actually, these numbers are 2017. They are, at the moment, Bavaria is leading with almost 40 million every year. So that's quite a lot that they spend here in Bavaria. And so all of them have a very broad way of support. They offer for theatrical, but also for television films, for documentary and feature films, but they all went into modern media as well. They have AR, VR, 360 serial narrations, and so on. So they are quite modern in their scope, and you can come with a lot of crossover projects. And that is a lot of documentaries that are really interesting documentaries today are crossover productions, and then usually you are better off with regional film funds. As with all regional film funds, also in other countries, it's always the same. They give you money, but they expect you to spend money in that region. Usually they expect you to spend 1.5 times as much. So they give you 100,000, but they expect you to leave 150,000 in that state. But that's the minimum. If you promise them the minimum, the chances that you get it is quite low. In average, in Bavaria here, I can tell you that they would expect you to promise them 300% to 400% in order to be eligible, because there are so many projects. And if you want to have a chance to be selected, 300% to 400% of Bavaria spend is something that you should calculate. And the advantages, of course, that you can also do post-production. You can do the shooting somewhere else, but you need to do then the post-production there. So there's a way of shifting money back and forth, but there are possibilities. Good. These are, then there are smaller ones. One in Mitteldeutschen Medienförderung, which is in Leipzig. One up north and in Baden-Württemberg, all of them around 15 million. And so they may be interesting to go to when you have certain, when you have a story that is set in one of these countries, then it does make sense. Good. And there's even more here, Nord Media and Hessen. So usually the way that it works is that you have a project with some general scope of either to a link to Germany or a link to being so interesting that can be a global story, but then it needs to be an interesting global story. Then once you have that, and once you are able to find a German partner, then the German partner can discuss with you what kind of what is the best strategy to go to finance the film. And that is, of course, there's not a unified method. Every film is different, and that needs to be assessed. But with a partner, with a German partner, you could have access to these funds, especially if you are based on the treaty that we have. And then it makes it much easier to set up the whole production. And that is one of the reasons of CoPro Israel, that you bring together producers from Germany that have that are interested, and they are open to great stories, and they would like to cooperate with you. So that is. Usually, what is good is if there is a possibility that the German producer can also involve the television station, because the television station then is a kind of a pre-sale. Then they can involve German television plus a German film fund, and then it makes sense that's an interesting constellation. And historically, there is a lot of interest in German broadcasters on any subjects from your region, and the presence of German commissioning editors has always been very high on CoPro Israel.
Yeah.
And so there is, it's much easier for you than for many other countries to co-produce with Germany, due to, there is a certain openness and a certain willingness. So there is, it makes it much easier. Good. Any questions on these subjects so far?
There is one. Do the national and regional funds prefer projects at the pre-production stages?
Well, yeah, good question. All of them have various stages. Some of them have funds or that is like a pre-development at a very early stage, where the threshold is very low to get in, but it's only a small amount of money. Then they have development. Some of them have then a pre-production fund. Then they have production fund. Then they have a distribution fund. Then and then there is additional support for going to international festivals. So they have certain stages that you can enter in. There is no obligation that you have to follow the whole line. You can at any point jump in at a certain place. Of course, it makes it easier, maybe, if you have started off early enough, then they have already a certain interest in your project, and they may continue to do so, but there's no guarantee. But it does help. And yes, there are several of them that have an early production stage, but you need to have a German partner for that.
Okay. That's it for now.
That's it for now. Good. Okay, then just go on. There may be more. More coming up later. Then let's talking about documentary slots in television. We have at the moment around 400 documentaries every week that are being shown in public television. Well, actually, right now at the moment, due to Corona, we have more because we have no sport anymore. And so they take out a lot of archive stuff, and they show more feature films, but also more documentaries. And but in general terms, we have not that many. 415 is not a lot, given that we have several hundred television stations. So most documentaries are being shown on Arte, Dreisat, which is a channel in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, and ARD. And then we have all the regional television stations. I did not mention that earlier, right? ARD is the first national channel, and ARD first national channel has in almost every state in Germany their own television station. We have, it's not really in all of them because we have 16 states, but only I think 9 or 10 regional broadcasters. The biggest ones being WDR in Cologne, followed by Bavarian television, and then all the others. All of them have they have a full-time program on their national state, which has a focus, of course, with subjects that are linked to that stage, but they all share it into the public broadcaster, ARD, the national-wide broadcaster, which also provides a 24/7 program with shares of all the regional broadcasters. ZDF has provides one national-wide channel plus several channels which are focused on news, on documentaries, on kids, on and so on. Okay, of all the documentaries that we see in Germany, creative documentaries is the largest part. We have very little hosted factual, unlike America and UK. When, for example, we have a film with animals in Germany, the film with animals is with animals, full stop. It's about animals. We don't like hosts being there in front of the alligator, trying to put their head in the mouth of the alligator. This is not the kind of documentaries that German broadcasters like to air, at least not the public ones. The private ones buy the American shows, but if we produce it ourselves, we don't like this kind of show. So hosted shows are not that popular in Germany, which is good in a way, because it makes it much easier for our shows to travel, because hosted shows don't travel. Yeah. It's very difficult to sell them because they need to be dubbed in other countries. If you just have a narration, a voiceover, it's of course much easier to adapt to local languages and to sell them. So that may be interesting for you to know, because that's the style that is being preferred here in Germany, and likewise in France, but it's very different to the UK or to North America. Good. Any question on this?
No.
No so far? Good. Okay. Let's look at the documentary slots. What kind of genres do we have? You can see that of course, all the general genres are being shown, the travel, culture, animals, and so on. But let's see how many of them are being German or from other countries. And you can see that German origin or co-pros is more than 50%, but that means that almost 50% is not German origin or co-pro, which is quite a lot, right? So we have a large chunk of French due to our cooperation with Arte. And then we have 8% is then from the US and 6% is from Swiss. Usually comes in with the 3 set. So that is the and that is quite surprising. In other countries where you have a quota system, you would not have these kind of figures. So we have a strong so almost 50% of the films can be shown without a German partner in total. Of course, funding is different. For funding, you need to have a German partner.
German. Can you maybe say a little bit about the what you said, the cooperation between in Arte, Germany and France?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. Good. Okay. Thank you. Sure. Okay. Arte was created 30 years ago, so in the beginning of the 90s. It was a political decision, kind of a reconciliation thing. And they wanted to create a German, French-German channel operated by both countries. And the idea is to open the, it's like to work closer together, but also to share certain programs and bring the German-French friendship closer together. So Arte has moderations in French, then they are being simultaneously dubbed into German, or they are vice versa. And the films are being either done by German or by French companies. And usually they are very high quality programs. And but they also have arts and culture. They have theme evenings with fictional films. And Arte has, the budget of Arte works like this, that the German broadcasters as well as the French broadcasters put a share of the money into the Arte program. And then a slot at Arte can either be served from the French side or it can be served from the German side. What happens now is that and each of the budgets has a certain allocation to it. So let's say, for example, a 1-hour program for a certain slot is maybe worth, let's say, 130,000 or so. Then the French side would be able to pitch for that slot, and if they get it, they get the 130,000. They additionally get a match of that by CNC, so they get another 130,000 from CNC.
From their side.
From the German side, that's different. We don't get the 130,000. Even if we pitch for the same slot, we don't get it. Why? Because every single regional broadcaster has their own Arte department. And these people are highly paid commissioning editors, and their wages are being taken out of the 130,000. So we are paying the wages of these commissioning editors. And that means that we will get, as a German producer, we will get between 20 and 40% less than a French broadcaster for the same slot. It's completely unfair, but this is the way that it's being set up. And so that means if you aim to go for an Arte slot, you will get much more, a much higher budget if you cooperate with a French partner than with a German partner. Sorry to say so. But this is unfortunately true.
And this is not going to change?
No, because nobody, I started 10 years ago. I started to try to work together with the French Producers Association to change this, but the French Producer Association had no interest to work with us on this subject. They you know, for them it works. We're not interested to help us to get to the same level.
They're being French.
They're being French or whatever. I mean, it was very nice talks. We had very nice meetings, but in the end, it went nowhere. Of course, they didn't have the pressure, and the solidarity was not that high, to put it this way, unfortunately. So, the German broadcasters, they say, well, this is unfortunately the structure, because we never got a, in Germany, the ARD and ZDF, they cannot just raise their budget. They have to apply raising their budget. So there is an organization called KEF, and they have to, every couple of years, they have to apply for more money. And the problem is that they never applied for this money. They should have applied when Arte was developed. This is a mistake of the very, very first days. They should have said, okay, we have a new television station here. We need commissioning editors. That will increase our budget by 0.0005% or whatever. Right? Because we need to pay this, we need to be able to install that. They did not do that for whatever reason, I don't know, but they took it out of the budget, and this is how it started. And unfortunately, until now, the television station has no interest to change the system, and the German producers are just not powerful enough to be able to change that system, unfortunately. But Arte is the television station that has one of the most open-minded programming needs. So if you, if you go to one of the ARD stations, they have their own agenda, and very often you need to, match this agenda. If you are lucky and the commissioning editor is somebody that, a woman, a man who is interested in your subject, that's great, then they may
make the effort.
They may take the extra, walk the extra mile, as the Americans say, to make this possible. But but they have to find a way to put this into their slot system that may look at, very often I heard this this sentence, where is the link to our audience in Berlin-Brandenburg? Okay, as you come with an international subject, sorry, there is no link, right? Besides that, it's really a touching story, but
this is not enough.
I mean, sometimes, I mean, it depends, right? If they really want to do it, they will do it. But this is, if not, then it's easy for them to just go back and to this position say, well, sorry, there's just no link to our audience in Baden-Württemberg, right? Which makes production with any international subject impossible.
There is a question. Just
yes,
a second.
please.
Can you tell more about the preset? What is the agenda?
The agenda of a television station?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, each of the television stations, they have their own agenda. There is this, EDN used to have this beautiful book that you may all know. I can put it up here. Let me see.
It's the thick one?
Yeah, I can. Let me see. I can share the. You should be able to see. No.
I think you need to stop sharing, and then.
Yes, I'm trying to find the button to sharing, or to stop sharing. Here. Okay. Let me show you. This is the last one that was published. Can you see? Okay, that is the last one that was published in print form, 1919, and because last year it was not published anymore; it's only online, and you would have a channel profile here of every single channel. So this is, for example, the channel profile of ARD and of SWR, and then you would have the names of every single person being there. For example, just read one of them: ARD documentary, social issues, mainly German, also important international topics. Responsible Simone Reuter, she's looking for in-house co-production and acquisition, for example. So there are hundreds of pages like that, and that may give you a just general idea. You can also, which may be interesting for you to know, is that in Germany, for a very strange reason, nobody really knows why, they started to slice the world. And each of the regional stations is responsible for a very certain area in the world. So, for example, Israel is Bavarian television, or the whole Middle East, I believe. And so that means that your chances to, is higher to talk to somebody from the Bavarian television than with any other, unless the other station is, for example, they have a strong science slot, and then they're looking for science, right? But if it comes to social issues, if it comes to stories from a certain region, the doors with Bavarian television are more open than others. It doesn't mean the others are closed. It's just more open. And okay, so that is something that if you're EDN member, that is something I can highly recommend. Then the television stations themselves have websites where they sometimes share their profiles, and but unfortunately they change all the time. And for example, SWR was not SWR, sorry, MDR was very strong in science, and then they completely switched off Science Channel, which made the head of department leave for early retirement because she just had no job anymore. And so that is, so things do change sometimes. But, and now we can see also the comments here. Okay. Aya, can you repeat the details of the fund that automatically supports every euro spent in Germany? Yeah, sure, can. Okay, there's another one, 3 set. Okay, I will start with this one first. Okay, that's called DFFF. It's a fund set up a couple of years ago with a budget initially of 60 million, and then it increased because it was so popular. And the main target is of this fund to attract international big films to be shot in Germany, like, you know, Inglourious Bastards or so. These were films that were brought to Germany, although this film is completely shot in France by an American team. It was shot in Germany. I mean, it was set in France, but shot in Germany. And due to the fact that Germany offered support. So, and the DFFF, the great, the advantage is that DFFF for documentary films is very open in, you can shoot outside Germany, but still get DFFF money. They allow you to, so the German team that goes, for example, anywhere else in the world, whatever they spend is, although there's not being shot in Germany, is being considered as a German spend, which helps a lot. So, but it's only for documentaries, not for feature films. So this a specialty in their regulations. So DFFF is a highly interesting, if you do cinema, a highly interesting financing possibility. But again, you need to have a German partner to access it. Okay, Dreisat, 3Sat. It's predominantly a cultural television station. They show us some. They show science. They have news. They have a couple of feature films. They are known for a good non-fiction programming. And it's being collectively fed by Swiss television, German television, and Austrian ORF, and but it's very, very little money. So usually what you do is you have, let's say, a German partner, and then you try, you know, if they don't offer you enough, you try to nudge them into, how about 3Sat? Can we get a little more if we also give you 3Sat? And then they may give you 15,000 more or something. And then you lose these rights in Austria and in Switzerland. So it's not really a lot of money, and it's too little to go directly just to 3Sat. But it's nice to, you know, sometimes to get this in on an additional basis. Good. No more questions at the moment, I can see. No? Yeah. Okay. Then I jump back to the
share screen.
To share. Oh yeah, I forgot. Thank you. Share screen. Here we go. Zuck. Okay, and share my screen. Chuck. So, okay. Then, okay, we talked about that. Then German films abroad. This is the number of German productions broadcasted in other countries. And interestingly enough, a lot of them are being broadcasted in Brazil. We
really?
Also, yeah, as you can see, this is the #1.
Really?
Yes.
Right.
Germans love Brazil. It's nice and warm and caipirinha. And, we don't like the politics there. But no, one of the reasons is probably we have a co-production agreement with Brazil, where Germany has very, very few, unfortunately, co-production agreements. The reason is, again, nobody in Germany cares about film in politics. Nobody feels responsible. Unlike in France, where you have a minister, that takes care of the film business. In Germany, nobody really cares. So in whole South America, we only have a co-production agreement with Brazil. In whole Africa, we only have a co-production agreement with South Africa. We have one with Israel. We have in all Asia only one with India, which is absurd because India is the most uninteresting country in terms of co-production, because they make their own films and they're completely different to the films in the rest of the world. So they either work in India, then they work in India but not in the rest of the world, or they work in the rest of the world but they don't work in India. Then we have one with Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. Of course, Canada has co-production agreements with everybody, but that's it. So it's very, very limited. And all the other co-production agreements we have is basically in Europe or in countries very closely associated to Europe. That makes it more difficult for us to, for example, go, let's say, to Asia, to China, to produce a film there, because we don't have a co-production agreement. The French have one. It's much easier for them, but we don't. Good. Okay, we have one with Brazil, so that may help here. And then you can see in the UK, USA, Turkey, Poland, Spain, Israel, Israel is not here, Italy, Russia, and so this is the number of German productions that are being shown in the world. And then let's have a last look at the online market in Germany. VOD and linear by age, and as not surprisingly, in the younger group you have twice as many people watching OTT over the top than linear, and as you can see, the older the people are, the more this one turns around. So in the age group 50 plus, you have the predominantly people going linear and very few going VOD. But this is not surprising. This is basically the same chart you would get for any other country. But it is something that we need to discuss. And that, of course, accesses the way that we are, that we finance our films. Because if we have, cooperation with VOD, if this is not being considered with a film fund, then that becomes different. Because then we have, then it's very difficult to make films for the younger age, because you have to work with television stations that have here the predominant user group. So public television, for example, in Germany, in average, the age average is 64, I think, this year or something. So it's quite average, meaning there are as many people above 64 than below 64 watching public television. And if you think that private television in Germany is much younger, then you are wrong. The youngest private television station, RTL, has an average of 47.
This is the youngest?
That's the youngest. All the others are older. So so linear television is just it's getting too old now. So if we continue like that, then we will do cemetery television in a couple of years. So they need to discuss what to do, because this is just a it's unhealthy. It's just unhealthy. We need to find new ways to be able to co-produce, to co-finance with OTT platforms. The problem is that the OTT platforms at the moment are not putting money into the public funding sector. So they are not participating in the funds, and that's why they're not obligated to do,
take part.
Exactly. Good. And on the right-hand side, you can see that Netflix and Amazon are dominating the market, and there are a few others, like the ones that I mentioned, like T Online, Magenta. Then we have Pantaflix and a couple of smaller ones, but predominantly it's Netflix and Amazon that operates, that dominates the market in Germany for OTT. Good, but it's pretty much the same in most other countries. Okay, that's basically it for the presentation. I'm happy to share this with CoPro as a PDF file if CoPro is interested, and then they can forward this to you if you are interested. And I'm happy to answer any more questions if you, yes, please. Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah. I will send it to Anat and then she can distribute that to you. Any more questions that I can answer to you?
Now you can raise your hand and we will bring you in to ask the question in person, not through me. People are shy. What are the main difficulties encountered in work? Okay.
Working between German. Can everybody read this, or should I?
No, only us.
Okay, then I should repeat the question. What are the main difficulties you encounter in working between Germany and Israel on productions? Well, actually, co-producing with Israel is much easier than with a lot of other countries. There are several reasons to that. One reason is that mentally we are close, much closer than, for example, if you are producing with somebody from, let's say, China or Japan, that have a completely different way of operating things. That's one thing. Personally, I have to say that the subjects that I have seen in CoPro in the last 8 years or so, when I went to CoPro, are of an extremely high quality level, much higher than in most other markets that I went to. So that makes it also much easier because the quality of the subject. I mean, the appeal of the subject and the quality of the team behind it is impressive. And of course, that makes it much easier to enter into productions. And the number of co-productions between Germany and Israel is quite impressive. If you look at there have been a lot of very, very close and good cooperations. There are a couple of producers from Germany that come every year to CoPro Israel. And so CoPro can, they can give you their contacts. These are people that know how to, who to address in Germany and who to go to. So there are no real main difficulties between, specifically, not really. There are the general difficulties that we have with any international co-production, and that difficulty being that you need to fulfill the co-production treaties. But you need to go along these treaties and to make sure that you really fill in, and then you have all the problems that you have in any co-production, which is trust, which is making sure that you define who is going to, responsible for which part of the production, what kind of film are you actually looking at, if the production is being done there, but post-production is being done somewhere else in the responsibility of your partner, you need to make sure that you talk about the same delivery items, that all of this needs to be defined. But this is not specific to any, like between Germany and Israel. It's specific to any
co-production.
Oh, now there are many more questions.
Yeah.
Can you send names of sales agents for foreign films to be sold to German television? German sales agents or international sales agents?
I don't have the specific name of the person who asked this.
Okay.
So,
okay. There are a couple of. Let's go about the German ones.
International.
Okay.
International from Israel.
Just a moment. There was a problem with the line. I may not have. Okay.
Sale agent for foreign films to be sold to German. If I have an Israeli film and I want to sell it to a German TV, is there a name of a German sales agent who can help me?
Hello.
Okay, now you're back.
Back again. Yeah. It started to be very difficult, and I logged out and logged in again.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that. Some kind of internet problem. Okay. We stopped at sales agents. So there are a couple of sales agents in Germany that are for documentary films. There is, for example, Rise and Shine in Leipzig and Berlin. Then there is Maja, M-A-J-A. Then there is Windrose. Shall I write this somewhere? I hope I don't forget somebody now. Okay.
People say yes. Write it down.
But if I write it here, then you would not be able to, not everybody may be able to read that, right? Then we have Authentic here in, there's Patrick Hurl. Then we have Albatros is a very good one. Then we have Rise and Shine, more for current affairs films. Then we have Lux Distribution. This is already quite a.
The main one.
These are the ones that usually go to the international markets and that have been to Israel before. But these are the 5 or 6 that I would drop the net. And then German sales agents are usually they're used to working on low commission figures, because in our funding system they're only allowed to take 30% plus 5% for marketing fee. If you go to international ones in the US or UK, you may end up with much higher commissions. They may charge you 40% or more. This is what I experienced by talking to them, especially in America. They are very often they ask for 40 or 45% commission. Then let me just scroll back and do this by the next one is, can you provide some information about CoPro for other content, drama series? Well, drama series is not my subject, so I cannot really talk about that. I know that, of course, co-production is the same. I mean, the issues of a co-production are the same. Usually the co-production treaties are for theatrical films. Most of them have also the one that the European treaty is also on theatrical productions. So if it's just TV drama, I don't know if they are covered. I would have to look that up. And I could not give you any recommendation on somebody doing drama series in Germany. For that, the only thing that I could suggest to you is to contact the Producer Alliance. I will just give you the contact details. The Producer Alliance in Germany, they cover this, you know, they may have their, I'm just getting the website. Oops, what's wrong here? Just give me a second. Here we go. I copy that in the chat. Link Adresse kopieren. Here we go. So if that's the, oh, no, that doesn't work. That does not work. Okay, let's go back. Here we go. Now, okay, this is the Producers Alliance.
Now it is.
You got it? Good. And they have their members. They have maybe 20 or so documentary. This is not their main field of representation, but they have a lot of members in the television field and in the fictional field. So they may be able to just have a look at their website, and maybe they can help you, and just drop them a line if you are looking for contacts to them. So let me just go back, see another one.
Is co-production with US exit?
No.
Special point system.
No. The USA has, to my knowledge, not a single co-production agreement with anybody. Americans don't really trust so much in international.
The rest of the world.
With they don't see the necessity, obviously. Canada is quite the opposite to that. Yeah. I think of 180 countries in this world, Canada signed with 160 or so. No, the US, to my knowledge, has no co-production agreement with anybody. Of course, you can always have a co-production with a country where there is no co-production treaty. That's possible, of course. It just makes it more difficult to access local funds. Because in order to, each of the partner needs to declare the project as being a national project. And if they're a minority partner, it may be difficult for them to bring in money. That's one thing. The other one is there may be double taxation issues. So you may have, when you get money from your fund and you want to spend it in a third country, you may end up that your tax system says, okay, you have to pay taxes on this money first before you can spend it there. And then this money is not available for your production. This is not what you want. It may also work the other way around. So the money from the other country does not get to you before it's being taxed. This is also something that you don't want. So it's more complicated. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just more complicated. In your opinion, are there any interests in Holocaust issues? Oh, I would say that in German television, we have every evening one documentary about Holocaust, at least, in one of these channels. There is, unfortunately enough, a lot of people saying we have enough of that, but don't listen to them. But yes, there is a great interest in Holocaust issues, not only in Germany, also worldwide. But of course, one always has to keep in mind a lot of the stories have been told already. So it's always important to find some kind of angle to the story that makes it interesting for people to, you know, like. But that's the same with any documentary. You need to have something interesting, an interesting angle. But if you have that, yes, of course. So next one, international from Israel. Yes. What does that mean?
It was connected for the sales.
Ah, yeah, okay. Then another yes, then great. Then how important is having an Israeli channel on board in order to get a German co-production? Well, yeah, that's also a good question. With any kind of funding for any kind of film, it's always difficult to get the first one on board, always. Because everybody is like, oh, let's wait and see. If you have somebody on board already, it always helps. This somebody can be a broadcaster from Israel. It can be a fund. It can be an association. It can be a cultural and media, whatever. It can be the so-and-so Gates, the Bill Gates, I don't know what. As long as, you know, the first step is already being done, it helps. In that respect, yes, but it's not that an Israeli having an Israeli television station on board is in any kind a prerogative, a necessity that a German television station would say, yes, this is something that we go in, yes or no. But it just helps, because then they know, oh, yes, television is there, then, you know, we know that they will air it. There's also a certain part of the budget already being funded, so that may help. Good. Could you please write down the company names you mentioned? Oh, yeah.
I copied it.
Then, hey, what are the German broadcasters looking for at the moment with topics? If I knew that, and if they knew, that would be good. My impression is they don't know themselves, not really. They are changing very often their scope. They may look at something at the beginning of this year and it may completely change over the course of the year. So it's very, very difficult to just generally say, oh, this is what they're looking for at the moment. In very general terms, this is true for all the broadcasters all over the world. They tend to program according to certain dates. 70 years of end of the Second World War, 100 years of birth of this or that person. So these kind of anniversaries is always something that is that they may, 50 years moon landing or whatever. So these kind of anniversaries is always something interesting to go to. So you can also the UNESCO Year of the Rat or Year of Plastic or whatever. They have all the 2 years ago was Year of the Reef. So that may also be something of interest, but more anniversaries. So if you have some subject that is linked to your anniversary, which may be in 3 years' time, then you need to start now. Then that may help. This other is, of course, if you have a subject that may have a link to a certain region in Germany, of that television station, it may help. So for example, if there is a film about somebody who lives in Israel now, but is from the region of North Rhine-Westphalia, Cologne, then there is a certain link, which may make it interesting for them to look at the subject. But it's not necessarily, it's not like you need to have that, but it may help. Then at the moment, this is just my feeling. What I can hear from broadcasters is they are at the moment subjects around generally anything that has to do with the complex international system that we are living in. The complex economy, being interwoven, either on the financial side or on the production and delivery side, or general geopolitical issues. Is always something that is being looked at. I made a film on North Korea 2 years ago, and the involvement of who helped them to get the bomb. So these kind of issues are generally interesting for also subjects on cutting edge technology. Face recognition, artificial intelligence, surveillance. Especially surveillance is something that in Germany is always being looked at with a certain skepticism, but also with a certain interest. What is being happening here. So, I know that Israel has some great
knowledge,
great knowledge in that area. Cybersecurity and so on. So that may be something that is of interest. But if it's too much into science, it becomes a problem because there are very, very few science slots left. For some reason, which I don't understand personally, science is not the main focus or it has been decreasing over the past years. I really don't know why, because I think science is thrilling, but unfortunately this is the case. So at the moment, I would advise if you have a science subject, to link it to a strong personality and go that way.
This way.
Using the strong personality. Good. Then we went this. I was wondering if Netflix is committed to invest in local production. Yes, they do. And co-production in Germany, yes. And in France, yes, they do. 1.5 years ago, when I went to World Congress of Science Factual Producers in San Francisco, there was a chief, one of the heads of Netflix there, and it was I never saw that on an international market. It was so crowded. People were fighting to get into the room. Basically what they said at that time is that they would do a shift in their programming. And they realized that it's more important now to go more local and to produce content locally and sell it locally. And they do a lot in Germany, as well as they probably do in any other country now. So or any other region now. So they produce a lot in local content. If it's very popular, they may take it international, but they go a lot more now into local content, documentary as well as feature film and series. Yes. Did the coronavirus affect the needs of broadcasters? Are finished films more appealing now? That's also a very, very good question. Coronavirus. Well, what happens now in Germany as well as anywhere else in the world is we had a complete shutdown in shooting. So and it still have. So probably all the productions, narrative, documentary, are being stopped for 2 or 3 months. And we all expect a certain a huge pickup in the fall, and then all of them will try to go into the cinema. All of them which could not go to the cinema now, which are finished now, and if they are funded in Germany, the problem is that you need to have them. You need to have them in cinema first, and it needs to be earliest 18 months later you can bring it to television. So sorry, my wife was looking for me, but okay. So that's the all the productions that could go to cinema right now will be shifted for half a year, maybe 1 year. That means that television stations will probably, unless the regulations are being changed, have to wait 1 more year to be able to air them. So there may be an increasing need now in order to fill these gaps. Also, the ones that would have been produced now and finished, let's say, in half a year or 1 year, they are all shifted back. So yes, in that respect, I believe that it would be logical that they are buying now more, but I cannot tell you for sure. This is just something that is a logical step. But I have not heard any feedback yet from somebody buying now more documentaries than before. I can tell you that I had a couple of films at MIP-DOK, which was cancelled, but the public MIP-DOK library was online, and it was not the case that more people were watching the films or buying them. Quite the contrary. We had a drop of down by 80 or 90% in screening. So I cannot tell you that. My impression is they are buying more. My impression at the moment is they are just being like, ooh, you know, at the moment
what to
not
do.
doing it. And they are airing old things. I just saw yesterday evening a football recording that was 5 years old in television, nationwide. So they seem to just air anything that they have. But once this is a little bit more, becomes a little bit more settled, I would assume that there is more interest in buying for a certain period of time, yes. But keep in mind, if you sell your film, a finished film, it's worth very little. If the same television station would go in a co-production and they would offer, let's say, just throw a number in, that would say 100,000 euros in co-production, then as a pre-sale, they would probably be down to 15, 20,000, and in acquisition, you're down to 5 to 10. So this is the relation. So the longer you wait, the less money you get.
And broadcasters, they do invest in co-production in these days, or this money is also waiting to know
well,
what
at the moment, they're all working from home. That's, you know, all the German broadcasters, everybody I talk to works from home. I don't really know how active they are in this period of time, or whether they are just, you know, wait and see mentality. But theoretically, they could go in co-productions. I don't know whether they really want to do that, because co-production also means, unless they know the person. If this is like, let's say, for example, there's a producer like Jürgen Kleinig, who always comes to CoPro, right? Very active producer. If this person, for example, picks up your film and he calls that person, then they don't need to meet. You know, if he calls the commissioning editor, they don't need to meet in person. They know each other. If the subject is good, then there will be a deal, and if it fits. But for if you want to go directly, it will be very difficult, because people want to see, they want to look into each other's eye to before they make that step. Okay, so that's hopefully that could answer a little bit. At the moment, nothing is for sure at the moment. Everything is different. So it's really difficult to make a assessment. Also, talking about, if you would ask me now, is it good to make a film about virus? I don't know. I think that if you would produce it now, once it is finished, you have millions of films about the virus.
There is no answer.
No answer. You don't know.
No,
maybe you are doing the one film that everybody wants to see, and there will be films that everybody wants to see. But the question is, how many million other filmmakers in the world are just heading towards this issue at the moment?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Bottom line, finished films at the moment, I don't see that they are more that they are bought more. But I guess once we are all out of the lockdown, I think that they will start to pick up, and I think they will start to buy and maybe go in co-production, but only if there is a partner that they have worked with in the past. And then in that case, I would advise you to seek contact to one of these 5-8 German producers that always went to CoPro and talk to them. Okay, any more questions?
No, I think you answered them all.
Good.
Yeah.
I am happy.
So do I.
I'm happy if you are happy.
Yeah, I'm happy. And I think the rest of the people here are too.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Guys.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely my pleasure. I wish you all the best. Yeah, toda. All the best.